Hi, we are Team 3 presenting this video about configuration and steps to perform HA and DRS using vSphere client for our CMPE-283 class. I am Vineet. The first part I am presenting is the configuration of the vSphere for performing high availability, and we have paused this video as there are many places to avoid waiting times during this task performance. We need 3 hosts on the Team vCenter. We already have 2 hosts added to our Team vCenter for our project 2. Now I'm adding the 3rd host to our Team vCenter. For this, right click on the DC and select add host and write the host name. The 3rd host is 130.65.132.153. The username is root and the password is as defined in our class manuals. Click next. Click finish. As you see now, the 3rd host is added to our Team DC. Now we are adding a new cluster. So the cluster is Team03 CL as the naming convention from a lab manual. Click next. Click finish. As you see now, the cluster is added. Now we need to drag and drop the hosts to the new cluster which we have created. Now as you see over here, we have already dragged up and dropped our host to the new cluster which we have added. Now we have to configure the host to enable live migration. For that, click on configuration tab. Go to networking properties. Select management network, then select edit and enable vMotion, and then in security settings turn on the promiscuous mode and select accept, then click OK. Here the vMotion is enabled. So here we have configured host 1 for vMotion. Similarly, we need to configure host 2 and host 3 for vMotion. Okay, now we have to add the heartbeat data stores to the hosts. So over here, heartbeat, like when the master host is in the vSphere HA, the clusters cannot communicate with a slave host or the management network. The master host uses the data store heartbeating to determine whether the slave host has been failed or it's in the network isolation. If the slave host does not respond to the data store heartbeating, it is considered to have failed and its virtual machines are restored onto a different host. For this we have to add 2 data stores on all the hosts. So here click on add storage, and we are adding the first data store over here. The server name for this data store is 130.65.132.58. Similarly, we need to add a second data store, and here we are performing this addition like so. Here now we are adding the second data store with an IP address of 130.65.132.59. So now all the data stores are added for the hard beating. So now here a brief description about our VMs. VM1 is on host 1. VM2 is also on host 1. And VM3 is on host 2. So you can see as we are pointing out to the IP addresses in our video. So now we are going to perform live migration on VM1, and we'll be starting a video in YouTube, and we'll be migrating our VM01 to another host, that is host 2. So here this is a demo about the VM live migration. Click on the VM and power it on, and then we start the YouTube video. Right click, select migrate, select change host, click next, and select the host 2 where we need to migrate our VM01. Click next, and click finish. So now you can see that VM1 is migrated to host 2, and we can see the video continuing on host 2 from where it was being migrated. So here it's you can see the IP address of that host 2, that was 152. So here we have completed the live migration for VM1, and now my next team member would be explaining about the further steps in this lab.
I'm Shruti, and I'm giving a demo of the high availability on the vSphere client. So for that we need to right click on the cluster and select edit settings. Select turn on vSphere HA and click on OK. So here the hosts are being configured for the high availability. This will be using the data store hard beating. Next we need to configure. Next we need to test the HA. We need to bring down the NIC on the host 2, so that we can test whether the virtual machines on host 2 are being configured when the network is not available on host 2. So for that, go to admin vCenter and log into host 2 from its console. Enter the login name as root and its password. Go to troubleshooting options and enable the ESXi cells. On the console, to bring the NIC down, we need to enter the command ESXCLI network NIC down -n VM NIC 0. This would bring the NIC down on the host 2. So we could see that the VM3, which was previously on 152, is now on host 153, and VM1 and VM2 are have not changed. and the IP addresses are also constant on them. Next we are powering off VM01. And also VM03. Bring the NIC up again on the host 2. Once the host 2 is up, we could see that the vSphere has migrated VM1 to host 2, and also VM3 is now migrated again to host 2.
Hi, I'm Vipul from Team 3, and we'll be discussing about the DRS configuration in vSphere. So basically DRS is a system which it is mostly used to manage clusters, and it helps us in balancing workload. Basically it scales and manages the computing resources in vSphere, and it helps in reducing the energy consumption in vSphere. So we'll see how to configure DRS in case of vSphere client. Now before that we need to remove the heartbeat data stores which were there available in our hosts before moving on to the DRS. Now I'll delete these two heartbeat data stores. Similarly we'll remove for every host. Now we need to increase the we'll enable the in the edit settings of the cluster we'll enable DRS. Prior to that we'll remove the HA and turn on vSphere DRS. Make sure that it is initially fully automated. Yeah, we'll just select OK. So now that we have DRS enabled, we need to configure each host so that we have appropriate sizes of memory. We'll check whether these hosts have appropriate memory. So I'll just reshuffle the VM so that we have appropriate configuration. So I'll move it to the first vhost. We don't need to change the data store in this. We just need to change the host. So we'll move it to host 1 in this DC. We'll select host 1. So the relocation has been completed. Now we'll check what all VM2 and VM1 are on. Yeah, so these are appropriate for our test. Now we need to increase the memory of vhost 3. For doing that we need to power it off first. For that we need the vSphere web client, and we'll log into the vSphere web client with our admin vCenter credentials of student. So in this thing we have the CMPE-283 DC in this, and we'll go to our host and we find a Team03 host in this list. So we'll click on select the Team03 host. Just drag it out. Yeah. So we'll select the Team03 host. In the manage tab, we'll select the edit settings, and there we go, we have the memory settings. So we'll make it 4 GB. and simply save it. So we can see that it's 4 GB over here. We'll just log out of admin vCenter from the web client. Now we need to power it on, the third vhost. So the basic configuration we can see over here is 4 GB for vhost 3, and in the vhost 2 it is 2 GB, and in vhost 1 it is 2 GB. Yeah. So this is the basic configuration of our DRS test. Now we'll look at the vhost sizes. VM1 is of 2 GB. In the host, we'll just check whether the configurations are right. So we'll look at the VMs which are, so VM1 is on 152, VM2 with 2 GB is on 151, that is vhost 1, and VM3 is with 1 GB on vhost 1. So this is the basic setup for the DRS test.
Hi, my name is Hitesh. I'll explain the fully automated option for the DRS. By default, it runs at priority level 3, and it is basically will move the workloads around the clusters without administrators' intervention, and if there is a chance to better balance the workload running inside the cluster. So for this configuration, we have on host 1 we have lin02, and we are increasing size of the lin03 virtual machine to 3 GB. Now the lin03 is of 3 GB and it's on host 1. Now we are creating new virtual machines using a default template which creates a virtual machine with the size 512 megabytes of memory. So we are creating virtual machine 4. And similarly we are creating virtual machine 5. So by default cluster will place them according to the cluster's availability, and we can, so as we can see in the summary, VM4 has been placed on host 3 and VM5 on host 2. Now we'll be moving the virtual machine 4 to host 1. This will be a cold migration. So select the data store, which is NFS 03 Team 03, and click next. Click finish. Now the VM4 is being relocated to host 1. As of now, all virtual machines are powered off. Now we are relocating virtual machine 5 to host 1. Similarly, select the next and finish. So host 4 and 5 has been moved to VM 4 and 5 has been moved to host 1. Now we are powering on virtual machine 1. It's of by default it will get started on host 3, which is of size 4 GB, and we'll power on virtual machine 3. So as we can see, host VM3, VM2 and VM5 are on host 1, and VM1 is on host 3. So to load balance, it has moved the host VMs to across different hosts. As we started another VM4, it has been placed on host 3, which is of higher size memory. As of now, host 2 doesn't have any VM. Previously it used to hold VM1 and VM5. So my another colleague, he will explain manual or partially automated DRS feature. Thank you.
Hi, I am Tushar. I am going to give quick demo on the partial DRS. Partial DRS is the method of dynamic resource scheduling in which the VMs are initially placed on the hosts and the migration recommendation is provided to the user. First, I will go to the cluster hosts and cluster mode in the vSphere, and there I will change the DRS settings to partially automated. After that, I will check the settings of each VMs. VM1 is of 2 GB. VM2 lean, the memory settings are 2 GB. You can see VM3, it is of 3 GB, and VM4 is 500 MB, 512 MB, and VM5 is also of 512 MB. Now to check the partial DRS, I will first change the settings of VM5. In VM5, I will go to edit settings and change the memory settings from 512 MB to 2 GB. Then I will go to the clusters. And you can see the migration recommendation is shown where it suggests to migrate VM4 from host 3, that is 130.65.130.153 to 151. Now I will click on apply recommendations and my VM will be migrated to host 1. Now we'll go to the VM5 and check the host settings. It is migrated to host 1. Now we'll change the another setting of VM02, and there I will change his memory settings from 2 GB and make it 3 GB. Now we'll check the memory setting of each of the VM. VM1 has 2 GB, VM3 has 3 GB, VM4 has 512 MB, and VM5 is 2 GB. Now we'll go to VM2 and power on the machine. Now I can go to the host and clusters mode, and we'll go and click on run DRS, and the recommendations will be provided to me. We can see the VM01 is the recommendation is to migrate VM01 from host 3 to host 2. Now I will click on apply recommendations, and my VM will be migrated to host 2. Now I can go and check on VM1 whether my virtual machine is migrated or not. You can see the host in the hosts, the VM01 is migrated from 53 to 52. Thank you for listening to a video. So this was our demo.